Have you ever wondered why, even when following a supposedly healthy diet, your glucose levels remain unstable? The answer might be right there in your supposedly nutritive breakfast. What the food industry doesn't want you to know is that some of the most popular and seemingly healthy breakfasts are actually ticking time bombs for people with diabetes. Starting your day with the wrong breakfast will certainly cause a glucose spike that can last for hours, affecting not just your mood and energy, but seriously compromising your glucose control. The most shocking part? Millions of people with diabetes do this every day without realizing, consuming foods that marketing has sold us as healthy and suitable for diabetics. But here's the good news. After extensive research into articles on data analysis from continuous glucose monitoring in diabetics over 40, we've discovered exactly what the 10 most dangerous breakfasts for people with diabetes are. And more importantly, how to replace them with truly safe and equally delicious alternatives. What you will learn today will completely change your relationship with breakfast and possibly revolutionize your glucose control for the better. What many people don't realize is that a simple 200 milliliters glass of commercial orange juice, even if labeled as whole, fiber-enriched, light, or diet, can contain up to 25 grams of sugar, equivalent to 6 teaspoons. For a person with diabetes, this poses a significant challenge to glucose control. High fructose corn syrup, often used in these products, is particularly problematic because it is metabolized differently than regular sugar, overloading the liver and potentially increasing insulin resistance. But the danger isn't just in the juices. Chocolate milk, energy drinks, and even certain fitness drinks can be equally harmful. A typical 200 milliliters serving of chocolate milk can raise blood glucose from 100 milligrams per deciliter to 180 milligrams per deciliter in just 30 minutes. A dramatic increase that can put any person with diabetes on high alert. The most concerning aspect is that these drinks provide what experts call empty calories, energy without beneficial nutrients. Additionally, because they are liquids, they are absorbed much more quickly by the body, causing sharper glucose spikes than solid foods with the same amount of sugar. The good news: there are delicious and safe alternatives. Naturally flavored water with slices of lemon, unsweetened teas, or even homemade smoothies made with low glycemic index vegetables can be excellent substitutes. A valuable tip is to make your own green juice with cucumber, spinach, ginger, and a small portion of green apple, a combination that provides nutrients without causing significant changes in blood glucose levels. For those who can't completely give up juices, the golden rule is dilution. Start by diluting your favorite juice with 50% water and gradually increase the water ratio. Your taste buds will adapt over time, and your glucose control will thank you. And speaking of taste bud adaptation, you might be surprised to discover how even more treacherous our favorite breakfast cereals can be than these drinks. Those crispy morning cereals, packaged in attractive boxes with promises of health, hide a secret that every person with diabetes needs to know. What seems to be a convenient and nutritious breakfast can actually be one of the worst choices to start the day. Let's look at the startling facts. A study published in the Journal of the American Diabetic Association revealed that many popular breakfast cereals contain more sugar per serving than some candies. A medium bowl of morning cereal can contain up to 24 grams of sugar, practically the daily limit recommended by the World Health Organization for adults with diabetes. The marketing of these products is particularly misleading when it uses terms like whole grain or rich in fiber. The truth is that many of these cereals are made from refined grains and then fortified with isolated fibers, which do not provide the same benefits as the naturally occurring fibers in whole grains. For people with diabetes, this means that even the cereals that appear healthiest can cause significant spikes in blood glucose. Even more concerning is the phenomenon known as the cascade effect. When we consume these highly processed cereals first thing in the morning, we start a cycle of glycemic imbalance that can last all day. The high glycemic index of these products triggers a rapid spike in energy followed by a sudden drop, leading to more hunger and a craving for refined carbohydrates a few hours later. But all is not lost for cereal lovers. There are truly healthy alternatives that can satisfy the craving for a crunchy and tasty breakfast. For example, unsweetened coarse oat flakes, quinoa flakes, or amaranth make excellent bases for a nutritious bowl. The tip is to personalize your cereal by adding chia seeds, ground flaxseed, and a controlled portion of low glycemic index fresh fruits, such as strawberries or blueberries. A smart strategy is to create your own cereal mix. Combine a quarter cup of oat flakes, 1 tablespoon of pumpkin seeds, 1 tablespoon of sliced almonds, and a pinch of cinnamon. This combination provides fiber, protein, and healthy fats that help stabilize blood glucose throughout the morning. And speaking of glycemic stability, have you ever thought about the impact that warm French bread can have on your diabetes control? The story of the next item on our list will surprise you. The irresistible aroma of freshly baked bread is part of the morning routine for millions of people. However, for those living with diabetes, this aromatic temptation hides a complex scientific reality that needs to be understood. What makes these products so problematic is not just their delicious taste, but their nutritional composition and the devastating impact they can have on glycemic control. Refined white flour, the main ingredient in these products, undergoes an industrial process that removes almost all the fiber and natural nutrients from the grain. The result: a carbohydrate that is practically predigested before it even enters your mouth. For people with diabetes, biting into a buttery croissant or a sweet roll is akin to consuming pure sugar. The rate at which these carbohydrates are converted into glucose in the blood is astounding. Data from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that consuming 50 grams of white bread can raise blood glucose as much as 3 teaspoons of table sugar. Even more alarming is that a single medium-sized French roll contains about 30 grams of carbohydrates, enough to seriously challenge the glycemic control of a person with diabetes. The phenomenon known as morning insulin resistance makes this scenario even more complicated. In the early hours of the day, our bodies naturally produce hormones that increase blood glucose, the so-called dawn effect. When we combine this natural effect with the consumption of refined bakery products, we create a true metabolic storm. But not all breads are villains. The science of modern baking has developed wonderful alternatives. Breads made with almond flour, for example, contain only 2 to 3 grams of net carbohydrates per slice. Naturally leavened sourdough breads have a lower glycemic index due to the fermentation process that predigests some of the carbohydrates. For those who do not want to give up traditional bread completely, there are smart strategies. For instance, combining a small portion of true whole grain bread. Ensure whole grain flour is the first ingredient on the list, with protein and healthy fats can help slow the absorption of carbohydrates. A thin slice of whole grain bread with mashed avocado, a poached egg, and chia seeds is a perfect example. A valuable tip is to consume your carbohydrates after a morning walk. Physical exercise increases insulin sensitivity, allowing your body to process carbohydrates more efficiently. But remember, portion size matters as much as the choice of bread. And since we're talking about foods that may seem healthy but might not be, you might be surprised to learn how that innocent mix of dried fruits and granola can impact your glucose levels. This is one of the biggest breakfast traps for people with diabetes. The dehydration process of fruits creates one of the most misleading breakfast foods, turning seemingly healthy fruits into little bombs of concentrated sugar. When a grape is dehydrated into a raisin, all the natural sugar of the fruit remains, but in a much smaller volume. A cup of fresh grapes and a cup of raisins contain approximately the same amount of sugar, but you are likely to eat many more raisins due to their reduced size. For people with diabetes, this means that a small portion of dried fruits can easily cause a drastic spike in blood glucose. The situation becomes even more complex when we look at commercial granolas. A study by the American Diabetes Association revealed that a typical serving of commercial granola, about half a cup, can contain up to 18 grams of added sugar. This doesn't even account for the dried fruits that are often mixed into the product. The marketing of these products often emphasizes ingredients like honey or agave syrup, suggesting they are healthier alternatives to refined sugar. However, for glycemic control, sugar is sugar, regardless of its source. The real danger lies in the combination. When we mix granola, already high in carbohydrates, with dried fruits, we create a mixture that can raise blood glucose from 100 milligrams per deciliter to 200 milligrams per deciliter in less than an hour, which is a total disaster. It's like delivering a double punch to your metabolic system first thing in the morning. Fortunately, there are delicious and safe alternatives. One is to create your own controlled breakfast mix. Start with a base of raw nuts and seeds, almonds, cashews, pumpkin seeds. These are rich in healthy fats and virtually do not affect blood glucose. Add a small amount of low glycemic index fresh fruits, such as blueberries or sliced strawberries. For that crunchy texture that granola offers, try lightly toasted unsweetened shredded coconut. A valuable tip is to keep portions controlled using the fist-sized method. The amount of nuts and seeds should not exceed the size of your closed fist. This usually equates to about 30 grams, a suitable portion that provides nutrients without overloading your body. For those who still want to include dried fruits occasionally, the strategy is to combine a very small amount, no more than 1 teaspoon, with protein and fat. For example, a teaspoon of goji berries mixed with whole natural yogurt and chia seeds will have a much lesser impact on blood glucose. And speaking of morning combinations that seem healthy, have you ever wondered about that quick porridge that promises to be nutritious and convenient? Who hasn't succumbed to the convenience of instant porridge on a busy morning? For people with diabetes, this seemingly comforting breakfast hides a complex web of metabolic issues that go far beyond simple convenience. Industrial processing transforms nutritious whole grains into ultra-rapidly absorbed carbohydrates, creating a real challenge for glycemic control. What few realize is that the instantization process of porridges involves pre-cooking and dehydrating that break down the natural fibers of the grains, making them much easier to digest, and consequently, faster to raise blood glucose. Studies show that instant porridge can have a glycemic index up to 40% higher than its traditional, unprocessed counterpart. Even more concerning are the hidden additives. A detailed analysis of the labels reveals that many instant porridges contain not only added sugars, often disguised under names like maltodextrin, corn syrup, or inverted sugar, but also thickeners and flavorings that can interfere with insulin sensitivity. A typical packet of maple and brown sugar flavored porridge can contain up to 16 grams of added sugar, nearly a third of the daily limit recommended for people with diabetes. The impact on blood glucose is even more significant because these products are usually consumed hot. The elevated temperature further accelerates the digestion and absorption of the carbohydrates, enhancing the glycemic peak. In tests of continuous glucose monitoring, some individuals with diabetes experienced increases of 60 to 80 mg/dl in blood glucose just 30 minutes after consuming instant porridges. However, there are delicious and safe alternatives for those who appreciate a warm and comforting breakfast. The key lies in controlled home preparation. For example, traditional, not instant, oat flakes slowly cooked with cinnamon and a pinch of sea salt provide soluble fibers that help stabilize blood glucose. Adding a tablespoon of almond butter or chia seeds further slows the absorption of the carbohydrates. A particularly effective recipe for people with diabetes is the overnight oats. Combine 1/3 cup of oat flakes with 1 tablespoon of chia seeds, half a cup of unsweetened almond milk, and a pinch of cinnamon. Leave it in the refrigerator overnight. In the morning, add a tablespoon of chopped nuts and some fresh raspberries. This preparation method allows the fibers to hydrate slowly, significantly reducing the impact on glucose. And if you think zero-fat products are a safer breakfast alternative, wait until you discover the truth about those yogurts that promise to be your best choice for managing diabetes. The food industry has created one of the greatest nutritional ironies for people with diabetes. Fat-free yogurts that promise to be healthy but can be more harmful than their full-fat counterparts. This nutritional paradox has confused consumers and complicated the glycemic control of millions of people living with diabetes. The story begins in the 1980s, when fat was demonized and fat-free products flooded the market. What many don't realize is that when fat is removed from yogurt, something needs to be added to maintain flavor and texture. That something is often sugar, or worse, a combination of sugars and artificial sweeteners that can affect insulin sensitivity. A typical pot of flavored fat-free yogurt can contain up to 23 grams of sugar, nearly the daily limit recommended for people with diabetes. More alarmingly, many of these products are marketed as fitness or diet options. A study published in Diabetes Care showed that consumers with diabetes often choose these versions believing they are making a healthier choice, but they may actually be harming themselves. Misleading nutritional marketing goes further. Terms like low-fat, light, or for special diets mask the fact that these products can cause significant glycemic spikes. The absence of natural fat means there's nothing to slow the absorption of sugars, leading to rapid increases in blood glucose. The good news is that there are truly healthy alternatives. Plain whole milk yogurt is an excellent base option. The natural fat helps stabilize blood glucose and promotes greater satiety. To make it tastier without compromising glycemic control, try adding a quarter cup of fresh blueberries, 1 tablespoon of chia seeds, a pinch of cinnamon, which naturally aids in glycemic control, 1/2 tablespoon of unsweetened pure cocoa. A smart strategy is to prepare controlled parfaits. Start with 3/4 cup of plain whole milk yogurt, add a thin layer of fresh berries, and top with 1 tablespoon of a seed mix, sunflower, pumpkin flax. This combination provides proteins, healthy fats, and fibers that help maintain stable glucose levels for hours. For those accustomed to sweeter versions, the transition can be gradual. Start by mixing half of a sugar-free yogurt with your current favorite version, gradually increasing the proportion of the sugar-free yogurt over a few weeks. Your taste buds will naturally adapt. Moreover, if you take metformin or similar medications and want to know how type 2 diabetics are gradually abandoning these medications until they stop them altogether, click on the first pinned comment. There you will find a document with step-by-step instructions on how you can safely free yourself from metformin. And if you think waffles and pancakes might be a safer alternative for your breakfast, get ready for a surprising revelation about how these brunch favorites can affect your glycemic control. At first glance, few things seem more tempting than a stack of golden pancakes or crispy waffles topped with maple syrup. For people with diabetes, however, this classic American breakfast represents one of the most challenging combinations for glycemic control, a true perfect storm metabolically. The problem starts with the base. Traditional waffle and pancake batter is made with refined flour, which already has a high glycemic index. When cooked and transformed into the characteristic texture of these foods, the starch structure becomes even more easily digestible. Practically speaking, this means that your body converts these carbohydrates into glucose in the blink of an eye. But the worst villain in this story is the topping. A typical serving of maple syrup, about a quarter cup, contains about 50 grams of pure sugar, more than double the daily limit recommended for people with diabetes. Honey, often considered a healthier alternative, is not much different in terms of glycemic impact. In tests of continuous glucose monitoring, it was observed that this combination can raise blood sugar levels from 100 milligrams per deciliter to up to 250 milligrams per deciliter in less than an hour, creating chaos for your glucose. The portions served in restaurants are particularly problematic. A typical plate of waffles or pancakes at an American diner can contain more than 80 grams of refined carbohydrates, not counting the syrup. For a person with diabetes, this is equivalent to almost their entire recommended daily carbohydrate quota in a single meal. However, there are creative alternatives that allow you to enjoy safer versions of these beloved dishes. For example, waffles made with almond flour and coconut flour contain significantly fewer carbohydrates and more fiber and protein. A basic diabetes-friendly recipe includes 2 cups of almond flour, 2 eggs, a quarter cup of unsweetened almond milk, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a pinch of cinnamon, stevia or monk fruit to sweeten optional. For the topping, there are surprisingly delicious options that don't spike glucose. Heated almond butter with cinnamon, whipped coconut cream with vanilla, homemade berry compote made with chia, which helps to naturally thicken without sugar. A valuable tip is to include protein and healthy fats along with your controlled portion of waffle or pancake. For example, serve a small almond flour pancake with scrambled eggs and avocado. The protein and fat will help slow the digestion of carbohydrates. And speaking of seemingly healthy alternatives, have you ever stopped to think about how that nutritious smoothie might be affecting your glucose levels without you realizing it? That colorful and refreshing smoothie seems like the epitome of health, right? For people with diabetes, however, these popular drinks can represent one of the biggest challenges for morning glycemic control. What many don't realize is that blending fruits completely transforms how the body processes their natural sugars. When fruit is blended, its fibers are mechanically broken down, drastically altering how sugar is released into the digestive system. A study by the American Diabetes Association showed that drinking a fruit smoothie can elevate blood glucose 25 to 50% faster than eating the same whole fruits. To put it in perspective, an average-sized smoothie with banana and honey can contain up to 60 grams of sugar, the equivalent of 15 teaspoons. A total outrage for your glucose levels. The myth of natural is always healthy is particularly dangerous in this context. Many people with diabetes choose smoothies believing that, because they are made from fruit, they are safe choices. However, when we combine multiple fruits in a smoothie, we are essentially concentrating their sugars into a quickly absorbable form. A typical energy boost drink can easily combine banana, mango, pineapple, and honey, each ingredient contributing to a sugar cocktail that can quickly overload the metabolic system. The impact on blood glucose is even more significant because beverages are consumed much more quickly than solid foods. In continuous glucose monitoring, it has been observed that fruit smoothies can cause glycemic spikes within minutes, much faster than equivalent solid meals. Fortunately, there are ways to create diabetes-friendly smoothies that are both nutritious and safe for blood glucose levels. The key lies in using a base of leafy green vegetables, spinach, kale, limiting fruits to half a cup of low-sugar options, strawberries, blueberries, adding healthy fats, avocado, chia seeds, including protein, unsweetened protein powder, natural yogurt. A particularly effective recipe: 1 cup of spinach, 1/2 a small avocado, half a cup of blueberries, 1 tablespoon of chia seeds, 1 tablespoon of almond butter, 1 cup of unsweetened almond milk, ice to taste. This combination provides essential nutrients while keeping the glycemic impact controlled. The trick is always to include protein and fat to slow down the absorption of any natural sugar present. And since we're talking about dangerous breakfast combinations, you'd be surprised to learn how that classic combo of crispy toast with jam seems like a simple and harmless breakfast. However, for people with diabetes, this pair represents one of the more subtle challenges for morning glycemic control. What makes this combination particularly problematic is the synergistic effect between two types of fast-absorbing carbohydrates. Toast, especially when made with white bread, is already a fast-absorbing carbohydrate. The process of toasting the bread actually increases its glycemic index, as the heat partially breaks down the starches, making them more easily digestible. When we add jam or sweet spreads, we create a combination that Dr. David Jenkins, the creator of the glycemic index concept, calls carbohydrate on carbohydrate, a phenomenon that can significantly amplify the glycemic response. The numbers are alarming. A typical serving of jam, 2 tablespoons, contains about 25 grams of sugar, and when combined with a slice of toasted white bread, 15 grams of carbohydrates, we have 40 grams of fast-absorbing carbohydrates in a single serving. For people with diabetes, this can result in an increase of 100 milligrams per deciliter or more in blood glucose in less than 45 minutes. The marketing of diet or sugar-free jams adds another layer of complexity. Many of these products contain artificial sweeteners that, according to recent studies, can affect the intestinal microbiota and potentially influence insulin sensitivity in the long term. Moreover, added preservatives and thickeners can interfere with glucose metabolism in ways that we are still beginning to understand. However, there are delicious alternatives that allow you to enjoy toast without compromising glycemic control. The key lies in 3 aspects: choosing the right base, sourdough or low-carb bread, using spreads rich in healthy fats and proteins, strictly controlling portions. A particularly effective combination includes 1 thin slice of whole grain sourdough bread, 1 tablespoon of mashed avocado, 1 poached egg, chia seeds or ground flaxseed, a pinch of sea salt and pepper. For those who can't give up the sweet taste, there are creative options like almond butter with cinnamon, ricotta with thinly sliced fresh strawberries, homemade chia jam with raspberries, made without sugar. And speaking of foods that promise to be healthy but may compromise your glycemic control, you'll be surprised to learn the truth about those convenient cereal bars and morning snacks. The convenience and convincing marketing of cereal bars have made them one of the most popular breakfast choices today. However, for people with diabetes, these small packaged bars represent one of the greatest nutritional deceptions in the food market. Beneath labels promising sustained energy and balanced nutrition hides a composition that can seriously challenge glycemic control. The marketing is particularly misleading when it comes to bars labeled as for diabetics or low glycemic index. A detailed study published in the Journal of Diabetes Care revealed that 85% of cereal bars marketed as healthy contain as much sugar as a conventional chocolate bar. A single bar can contain up to 25 grams of carbohydrates, often with 15 grams being added sugars, disguised under names like brown rice syrup, fruit juice concentrate, or honey. Reading labels becomes a true challenge. Terms like no added sugar can mask the use of fruit concentrates or syrups that have the same impact on blood glucose. Even more concerning is the presence of ingredients like maltodextrin, often used as a binding agent, which can have an even higher glycemic index than table sugar. A continuous glucose monitoring test revealed that a typical cereal bar can raise blood glucose levels from 100 milligrams per deciliter to 160 milligrams per deciliter in just 30 minutes, a rise comparable to consuming 3 teaspoons of sugar at once. The problem is amplified by the fact that many people consume these bars on the go, without additional proteins or fats that could help slow the absorption of the carbohydrates. Fortunately, there are practical and truly healthy alternatives. One option is to create your own portable morning snacks. Nut mix. Combine a quarter cup of almonds, walnuts, and pumpkin seeds. Protein bombs. Mix almond butter with unsweetened whey protein and form small balls. Homemade seed bars. Combine sunflower seeds, chia, and flax seeds with a bit of almond paste. A particularly effective recipe for diabetes-friendly homemade bars. 2 cups of mixed nuts. Half a cup of chia seeds. A quarter cup of almond butter. Stevia or monk fruit to sweeten, optional. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. A pinch of sea salt. The secret lies in prioritizing ingredients that provide stable energy without causing glucose spikes. Proteins, healthy fats, and fibers should be the stars, not refined carbohydrates or concentrated sugars. Now you will click on this video that is appearing on your screen about the 10 best meats for diabetics. See you there.